Botanical Gardens following us. I think Botanical Gardens is going to rate us, or someone else is going to rate us, but this is a little bit different because this is actually, the stream today is part of SYNTHON. I'm assuming everyone can hear me, but I don't know for sure that you can. I think you can though. So we needed to get the stream started and let them know that they can raid into us at 7, and we wanted to bring ACTITECT in for the SYNTHON raid, so we're going to try to do all of this right now really quick. So thanks for bearing with us and being with us early. Early birds always get the worm. They always get the benefit. Okay, let me see. Guest. I lost the background music a little bit, but that was the only thing that was kind of abrupt about this. But otherwise, I think we did it. I think we got on time. We're here for the SYNTHON raid to happen. ACTITECT is here. Everything's working. Fantastic. Bravo, everyone.
I'm happy. You're
Thanks
happy.
for the good
we're
vibes.
Happy.
Happy Synth Friends Thursday.
Happy Synth Friends Thursday.
It also happens to be SYNTHON weekend. That's a once-a-month event as part of the Golden Shrimp Guild. And as you see, ACTITECT is going to be our guest today. And ACTITECT is like one of the wizards behind, or maybe the main wizard behind Golden Shrimp Guild.
He is the wizard.
And yay, Botanical, thank you for letting us know. Cheers. Cheers to myself. Cheers to my second beer that I have in waiting. It's been one of those days where I was like really looking forward to this stream, you know? SYNTHON even. Yes, exactly. This is exciting. So we've been doing Synth Friends every Thursday for...
What is it now?
Like 9 months, I want to say.
I think it is close to that.
It feels like nothing in a million years at the same time, but...
Yeah.
We've never done anything weekly this consistently. And that was like our main goal was like, this feels fun. And if it stops feeling fun, we won't do it. And like every week, it's like the thing we look forward to. So...
Well, it never... didn't feel fun.
Yeah, exactly. So going to Super Booth like took that to a whole nother level, and ACTITECT was behind the Golden Shrimp Guild tent being at Super Booth, and the way everybody got to have a hub and be connected. So I should
someone's got to be in charge, and it was ACTITECT.
Hello everyone, hello friends. Let me see if I can get the music for the opening to come back.
Oh, hey.
Hello, Botanical Gardens. Thank you for the raid. This experimental SYNTHON raid.
Hey.
That we're doing as part of SYNTHON and Meet Synth Friends. So let me try to shout you out, Botanical, because this is out of the ordinary for us. We have ACTITECT as our guest for this SYNTHON Synth Friends. And we're getting raided by Botanical Gardens. Welcome in. How was your stream? I hope you're having a lovely SYNTHON weekend. We're starting the weekend early. We're celebrating by having our good friend ACTITECT here. Breathalyzer, welcome back. So we have ACTITECT, the Golden Shrimp King, Golden Shrimp Overlord. Yes, Mr. Spock is here. So ACTITECT is our guest today, which is just like perfect for the SYNTHON weekend, right?
Oh yeah.
So
guest of honor.
The Shrimp Daddy, that's right, the Shrimp Daddy. How could I forget? That Stewart gave him that custom shirt, right? Didn't somebody get a custom Shrimp Daddy shirt? And I think it was ACTITECT, right?
I can't confirm nor deny.
We need to hear that story. Toto, how's it going? We really enjoyed your set last night. Was that last night? Or was that today? I think it was last night because I was making dinner. And it wasn't tonight. Son of 8-bits, welcome in. Greetings, all dear Earthlings. Welcome into Wolfie. Yes, I guarantee Botanical Gardens had an amazing set. Time is a construct. We should be playing some ACTITECT music from ACTITECT Studio, but ACTITECT is not on the screen yet.
That would be a sick intro.
Like, what is happening? What's this? Oh, the alerts are behind. Sorry.
It was last night.
Oh my god. Son of 8-bits, thank you for the follow.
Makes me feel so warm to know that it was last night.
Yeah. It was really good.
I would be worried if it wasn't last night. Nah. I don't know why I said I like trailed off like that.
The excitement's on 11 right now for us.
The excitement is on 13.
To have this be part of an official SYNTHON experience feels really special to us. So thank you all for being here for this. And ACTITECT, feel free to join us whenever you're ready, whenever you feel like showing your face. I'm waiting for like the Darth Vader voice.
He's gonna be like,
come
hello. Is there anybody out there?
Yes. Oh, listen to this fade. I'm doing music fade. He's doing video fade.
Us with the music fading.
Oh, that was brilliant. Hello, Luquado. First time chat from Raid. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. This is a very special stream with a very special guest who has a very amazing synth layer that we definitely need to talk about. So I want to make sure we can all hear you, but I'm very excited for you to join us. I don't hear you right now.
That's 1, 2.
Yeah,
yes. There we go.
There we go.
Who's that guy, Toto? I don't know. He's a blur to me. We met at Superbooth and you were just a blur running from place to place. But obviously, welcome to Synth Friends. Thank you for being here and also having us as part of SYNTHON. It's like a mutual shared stream.
Thank you for inviting me.
A double.
Happy to be part of the show. I love this show. I watch it all the time. I love talk shows about synths and setups and stuff, and you guys do a great job. So.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you to AW Board for the follow.
I wish we did more of the actual like synth talking. Like that usually doesn't quite make.
You think we talk about other stuff besides synths?
Well, I feel like we encourage, just talking about whatever, as well as the synth stuff. Like I usually can't help but like ask a couple questions. It's like I'll take advantage of the time to like have a couple questions about their setup because I've been like, lurking around.
Yeah, do you want to jump in with synth talk? Do you want to like get all your like burning questions about ACTITECT setup
out of the way?
Yeah, because we're like, I think
that's a lot of pressure though. I like to let it just sort of like.
But I think what he's saying is like he's having a hard time not being like, tell me all the synths that are happening behind you because you have such an amazing setup, and I always love watching your streams and like we're like inside your world right now. But obviously you can tell we're very excited. I'm into synth talking anytime. Wow. Yeah, the chat is lit. Thank you all for being here. I do want to give you a chance, ACTITECT, to tell us about yourself and how you got started with synths. I obviously have questions about how you got started with the Golden Shrimp Guild and streaming and everything, but let's take it all the way back. Let's take it all the way back to your first memories of, I'm going to make sounds, I'm going to make songs, I'm going to make music. Like, where did that come from for you?
Well, it starts in the year 1980, when I was born.
Yes.
And my dad was a total nerd. He worked for Philips, and he was like, he created machines just for fun. And so obviously I got computers at really early age.
Wow.
But even before that, he created like this little boxes with lights and dials for us to play with, me and my two brothers. Wow. And they basically were simple synthesizers, just little plastic boxes with 3 or 4 dials. And after some years, he created like 12 of them, and we put them all together and made them into like a spaceship thing. So that was a very big influence. But also playing video games, of course, mainly Commodore 64 stuff in the early 80s. The music and the sound chip on the device, obviously very cool sounding. And the games I liked the most were the games that had the best music. And that's because music, it really sets an atmosphere to the game, If the music sucks, it's not a fun game to play, or if the music is too simple or too repetitive, or you get bored with the game pretty easily. But when the music just keeps on going and really well composed, then you really enjoy playing, and it adds to the vibe of the game. And some game developers knew that, and they got the best game music composers, like one of my favorites, Rob Hubbard. So I think that was the earliest synthesizer influence I had in my life. I was a super young boy playing video games on the C64. And my older brother, 5 years older, he was really into early house and early acid and rave stuff. So he started making music himself on the Amiga 500. So we're talking in the late 80s probably. But he didn't have any musical background, and I had piano lessons. So every once in a while, he asked me to play some sort of cheesy melody for his tracks to work on. So over his shoulder, I saw what he was doing, and it didn't took long before I had a PC after a while, and it didn't took long before I started creating electronic music myself with trackers like Fast Tracker, Digi-Studio, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And over the years, I added Cubase and Reverb, Reason, and to Ableton. Then when I worked with Ableton, I added some hardware controllers, but to eventually it got a full hardware setup like it is now, because that's what I like most.
We're getting the Acti cam. I can't believe it. Oh my god.
Everything looks pretty hands-on.
I
Yeah.
can show some stuff around.
Wow.
So now it's this island of gear, and my philosophy is I want it to feel like one instrument, and that's one of the main reasons it's positioned like this. It's all about where my arms are when I'm in the middle. So like the main console is in the middle, 32 channels, and all the devices are on a comfortable height within the reach of my arms, so that I can teach my muscle memory. So I really want it to be an instrument. I'm not even that much of a super nerdy deep synth person. I own quite some synths, but for me, it's not about the synths themselves. It's about what I can do with them. So first I figure out what do I want to do, and then I find the tools to put it in my setup, and usually combine it with a lot of devices to make happen what I want to make happen.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like when you stumble across that, perfect combination of stuff that allows you to make the sounds that you have in your mind, you're just sort of like, okay, like, I have this figured out, and I'm just gonna pour into this and,
Exactly.
allow the music to speak for itself.
Yeah, not just the sounds you have in your head, but also the workflows you have in your head.
Sure. Oh yeah,
That's
a good point.
That's how it works with me. I like to be able to do a certain workflow, and and the sound sometimes kind of is a big surprise. I like to. That's why I really like sequencers, and I like to combine lots of different ways of inputting the music. So you can loop, you can program a sequence, you can record a sequence, you can play live, you can generate a sequence. And when I create my music, I try to do all of those together, because it feels like 5 different entities are in the orchestra, because they all have a different way of playing. And they all sound different, of course, because the devices are all different. That's why when you select gear, we have one analog and a polysynth and a sampler, and you want an FM and you want a granular one. But it's not just about the sound generation; it's also about the triggering of the sound. So I also use a lot of foot pedals.
Oh, okay. Foot pedals.
And I like analog hardware filters as well, because they give a really quick, tangible way of altering the sound.
Absolutely.
I do see a question from Booze Modular in the chat, and I feel like it's a little cheeky and a real question, but I think what it's making me think about something that was coming to mind when you were showing us that overhead view of like, you can just feel how much your like actual vision and like passion and drive and enthusiasm is in that space, because like you can look at it and be like, oh my god, I wish my shit looked that cool, and it's like, well, then you'd have to be ACTITECT, who is pouring creativity and joy into ideas that are making it possible. Like you could never replicate this for yourself, you know. But I think their question was like, damn, there must be a lot of stuff we don't see in terms of cables and how things are set up, and like how much are you messing with that all the time versus how like rigidly set up and like nothing ever changes kind of thing, because like everything workflow wise.
As you can see, I have everything built in cases. So, and they're all similar, all the same cases. There's one case here, and it's focused on percussive and like triggered stuff. There's a looper and a drum machine. But actually, about the cable stuff, the real challenge isn't really in the length of the cables. It's the real challenge when building stuff into cases is getting short cables and getting angled cables.
Yes.
That's the big thing, because if you don't get angled cables, you won't be able to fit all that gear in a tight suitcase, you know, because a cable, when a straight cable, there's like 20 centimeters that you have to keep free for the cables to roll. So I work with a lot of angled cables, angled MIDI cables. But there's a lot of cables going, but the most cables are stacked under this table right here, and I'm probably only using 40% of the cables I own. But there's a lot going on, especially on the MIDI front. That's because just all the audio goes into the big mixer. Well, there are some sub mixers here as well, and a stage box. But just all the audio goes to the mixer, but the MIDI goes all over the place. And I use this RetroKits RK006 and an RK005 and to make all kinds of weird stuff possible.
Wow.
And yeah, it works. And I really enjoy thinking it all out. That's probably well, it's not probably, that's how I came up with the name ACTITECT. It's because I almost enjoy drawing and figuring out my rigs as much as making music. Because my day job is a designer, so I like creating stuff and thinking out stuff and conceptualizing stuff. So I like got digital versions of my setup in Illustrator, and I used them before I even buy stuff. I put the image in Illustrator and drag them around. How is this gonna look? How is this gonna feel? So I have like a virtual setup in my computer that I alter before I even buy new stuff. And
there you go.
Think about the wiring and stuff. So architecture, an architect is something between someone who has a live act, but also is an architect about it. Something like that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that we got like the behind the scenes look and the breakdown. I can definitely feel all of that in your space and in the music, that there's a lot of thought, but that it comes from a place of like passion, not like analytical, which is
it's passion and imagination.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
It's so that you can be more efficient when you play. I mean, the whole idea is like you've, sort of thought about, the workflow of how you want to play music so that everything is in a place for you to be most efficient with it and use it the way that you want.
Yeah, because
is that correct?
I only create music on the spot, so that really asks for super efficient and well thought out workflows in being able to create stuff on the spot that's good enough to keep your audience aboard, you know?
That's a good
And
point. Yeah.
and it's yeah, it's still not perfect, but gear is getting a lot better. I'm improving my skills.
Hmm.
Um, y- your setup gets more familiar. Every now and then you buy a piece of gear that you put a lot of energy in, but just doesn't work out. So then it gets backtracked, and I think I'm at a pretty good point right now.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well, we know what that feels like. It's like you're like, don't really trust that feeling, but I'm
yeah,
glad
yeah.
that that's a nice place to be. Shout out to Luquado who gave us a follow. Thank you for joining. Um, do you gig out often?
No, no. I used to do some gigs out before pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really like it because it's just even though I have my entire setup is pretty much ready for it. You know, I can
Mm-hmm.
pack up an hour if I need to, but it will probably destroy my back. I need at least a day of prepping. I can pack it up in an hour, but I really need an entire day to do it well and pack it and get it in the car and everything. And then on the gig day itself, you have to drive to the place and then you're there with all your suitcases and you arrive there and they're usually not ready for you. And they're also usually not paying enough for the amount of time you have to put in and time and effort. So it's just not a good deal yet.
I
Uh,
agree. I think.
And so my plan now is to just get really good at this because I like this a lot more,
Hmm.
streaming from the studio. And who knows what will happen, but this is for me a much better way of getting an audience. And I really love that I'm able to do design and visuals and scenes in OBS and interactions and stuff like that. It's just more fun than showing up with a pile of suitcases and not really being welcome at a place and not being paid enough.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not really a good deal for guys like us that have a big setup and want to create live music on the spot because organizations don't really understand what and why you are doing it. They
Mm-hmm.
if they book you, they book you because you have some fans or because they think it looks cool,
Mm.
not because it's hard, not because it's relevant. You know, it's money reasons they usually get you aboard or
Hmm.
promotional reasons, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, that's how the industry is at this point, and that's totally okay. But that's also one of my motivations to put so much time in GSG because it's another path, and I can kind of create it myself. Uh, I can create a new scene with different rules, with no money people,
Mm-hmm.
and with creative freedom for artists all over the world. People from all over the world can be able to play somewhere else. Because the biggest step that's going to happen for GSG is when we're going to start um, playing at events and festivals.
Funny
So
you bring
Oh,
that up,
yeah,
though.
yeah. I think
yeah,
that's
that's
very
that's what I'm going to
critical.
work on this year is getting screens, cameras, good internet, and some kind of uh, uh, standard console to clubs, bars, festivals, so they can play our streams and people in the clubs can interact with it because there's also a little screen with a keyboard so the guests can talk with the artist. That's what we're gonna do.
Wait,
That's
whoa, you
how
just
we
made
do it.
my brain explode. You mean just as things
Yes.
are, but that's going to be taken to the physical. That is so freaking cool.
That's because we are not gonna reach people by staying on Twitch.
Oh
You
my
know,
god.
people. Some people just don't consume music behind
Yeah,
a
yeah.
computer. we're not going to reach those people. If we, there's people like to go to clubs, have a drink with lots of folks, and dance on the dark dance floor and stuff like that. But we can go to them. And we can even go to them all over the world. So
My heart is
yeah,
so happy hearing this. Thank you for sharing this on our stream.
yeah, that's one of my endpoints for GST, because there are a lot of facets to GST, and the community is one thing, of course. The events is one thing, but there's shop will also be interesting. But one of the biggest things will be getting streams into clubs, festivals, events, bars, everything.
That is so futuristic and like sci-fi, and I
But
love
it's
it.
really close. The only thing you can put like I can bring a laptop and a projector to a club and
I
make
know,
it happen.
right?
It's so simple. But we have all the streamers. We have all the guys that are good at it. So I'm not even afraid to share this idea, and because people will steal it or anything.
Right.
Because we're the best. Do you know any other community on the internet streaming live electronic music on the level that we are doing? No.
We literally thought we were the only ones at all. We were like, hello, hello.
Yeah, I
Like
thought that
into
too
the canyons,
3
you know?
years ago. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my
And
God,
then the world opens.
one door opened and there was like 1,000 people in there. And we were just like, oh my God, we're not alone. This is crazy.
We are not alone.
That's so amazing. Oh my gosh, that just makes me so happy, because everything that you've talked about is stuff that we talk about all the time, like, and with a lot of people that we have on. Like, Twitch has changed the way we like think about how we live our lives even. I mean, it's just crazy. It sounds insane, but like it has changed everything.
Yeah, but it's not Twitch. Twitch is an interchangeable thing. It's the best platform to do what we do at this time. It's not about Twitch. We could do this on another platform and we could make it almost just as fun, you know?
Yes.
So Twitch is great, but I don't want to give too much credit to
I appreciate that.
It's a platform. It's just a chat and a video and some monetization option.
The fact that the people we wondered if they existed were on Twitch, and that we were led to check out Twitch, like, just that magical experience for us is still something we feel like so just like it's unbelievable to think about sometimes. So I guess when I say Twitch, in my mind, Twitch is the fact that we found everybody here.
Yeah,
and like,
Twitch
what, everyone was here? What? That's so crazy, because we didn't really think of ourselves as ever doing Twitch, and like something just kept telling us to try it. And like when we were doing it just like as users before we started streaming, I didn't really find all of these. I didn't find the shrimps yet. Like the door, I didn't find the shrimp door. But I just kept at it, and I just kept finding that positive community feeling until till y'all found us, actually. And then, getting to take it to real life at Super Booth was so awesome. And like, I guess I can understand, because we got a taste of it when we were at Super Booth in the tent and the stream was happening. Like, that was drawing people in, and like it was explaining everything. Like, people were getting it, like I can just imagine that in bars and clubs, and myself enjoying that, being like, oh cool, there's not like bad sound guys, there's actually like an interactive chat. It's almost like a trivia night meets good music, live music. So I think that whole idea is so freaking cool. Sorry, and
don't forget that in a bar, club, or festival, we can put a camera there as well and stream it back to the artists.
Right, that's really cool.
So it really enables stuff that isn't possible with a real physical artist present. And people tend, especially people that are not familiar with live streaming, they usually have the opinion that live streaming, it's not really there, it's not real, it's just a screen, and there's no real communication. But it's completely the other way around. Because you, as an artist, you can read the minds of your audience. In a live gig, you can only see people dancing, smiling, whistling, throwing their hands in the air, and that's about it. They cannot say how much it reminds them of their awesome childhood in Detroit or whatever. Stuff like that is so much more inspiring, if you ask me, you know, to see what moves people and how you can move people by creating music and use that information to feed it into your music as well. So
Oh,
that's I
Yeah.
think it's beautiful when you think of it.
I agree.
Uh-huh.
But
Just getting
for,
me
for people that don't know about it, if I can imagine that for them it feels like, yeah, it's really cold and one way communication, but it's totally not. But we have to show them. They're not gonna come to us to ask how it looks. Even on Super Boom, most people I talked to on the booth, and those were like nerdy, tech savvy people. They were surprised, pleasantly surprised about what we were doing. You know, they were like, "Really, this is happening?" And those were tech people. So I was surprised by their surprisedness, to be honest.
Yeah, that almost is like unbelievable to me. Like, really? Because I don't think of ourselves as being that savvy or like ahead of anything. I mean, we're like into retro shit. We're still using tape, you know? But yet somehow doing a live stream makes people think we are like living on the edge, you know, like we're in Tron or something. I'm like, no, we just like turned a camera on and pressed a couple buttons. Like, you know, on the other side of that is amazing like creative freedom and supportive community. Like that's what I care about, not the like, you know, technological aspect, which I shouldn't take for granted. You're right. Everyone in this world is like so inspiring to us in terms of all the things we get to learn about what people are trying and testing and playing with. I think there was a question, not to like, let me watch the time and the chat and the questions, but I also want to like nerd out so hard with you at the same time.
Not to shramp it up.
Not to shramp it up. Oh, what is your favorite or most used sound sources? Welcome in, Yapo.
I think the thing I use most is the DeepMind.
Oh.
DeepMind. Which version do you have?
The DeepMind 12D, the desktop one. That's probably the thing that ends up in almost all of my jams.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually, it's. I just bought it because I needed a polysynth, and everybody said it sounded good and it was cheap. And there was a desktop version. It was not that big, so I could fit it in a case, but it sounds great, especially with an H9, even by H9.
Oh, yeah.
So I just love the way it sounds. It's a bit based.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also the thing that in my streams, when the people say, "Oh, that's the Acti chord," and that usually is some kind of chord that comes out of the DeepMind.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yep.
That's amazing. I wanted to ask about like what inspired, was there an artist or a sound or a genre or a style that inspired your like improvising live, you know, like we feel like that's like a crazy thing to just be doing, and we're all doing it and we can't believe that it's something everybody kind of like gets on the same wavelength about. But I'm curious like what kind of path you took to kind of get there, or if you were always there, or you know.
Well, because I had piano lessons, and at the same time I saw my brother creating like electronic music, producing it. So I guess for me it was a logical next step. But when I finally was old enough to go raving and partying, which was great in the 90s in the Netherlands, by the way, that was like the perfect place to be. It was ridiculous. But there
I think I just wanted to go back to that, right? Like, I wanted to make sure we covered that.
If one place and time, it would be Netherlands and Germany around between 95 and 99.
You're so right.
Yeah. And even in the early days of electronic music, a lot of folks were doing stuff with live hardware, like guys like Jeff Mills, Secret Cinema, Speedy J, guys like that, Surgeon. Um, and when I saw that on events, and there were also DJs, there were guys that did live stuff. And this was in the 90s, and I was, okay, the live stuff is where it's at. That's what I believe. But then the DJ stuff got really big from 2000 onwards. It got really big and got completely over the top, and there were superstars and everything. I was like, this okay, this is not the area that not the focus that I thought it was gonna go, because I
Kind of
thought
lasted for you, yeah.
it was superior, you know, it was more interesting, it sounded better, it was more creative, but the audience didn't matter, and it's also probably because of the money people, because it's just a lot cheaper and easier to get a DJ, and it's a lot easier to hype them, and it's
and you know what you're gonna get.
Right.
You know what you're gonna get, and they're interchangeable, you know, especially compared to a band. You know, when you have a band, there's like a bassist and a drummer, and the lead singer he's ODing somewhere in a back room or not showing up or whatever. And a DJ is just a guy. He shows up with some records and he can play because the gear is already there, and it's the sound is good, and it's all so. If I were an organizer, an event organizer, or a promoter, and I would be able to get a popular DJ, yeah, it's just a lot less work, you know. It's easier to manage. It's just one guy. So looking at that, that's probably the reason why it got so big, because they were, and the Dutch were really good at it, by the way, in making DJs super big, because that's just what the Dutch do. They make something a little bit cheesy and easy to digest, and then hype it up and market it like crazy, like they do at Heineken, for instance. But yeah, that's the way it is. But now we're in 2023, and I think it's time that people are looking around, you know. They want to be not just a little bit entertained, but they want to see something interesting and insightful and creative as well, you know, something that they can look up to.
Yeah.
So I think we're finally getting there. And live streaming is something that can really help to get that ball rolling.
It's almost like it's like reintroducing live entertainment to people, because people are more likely to catch something like that on the computer for the first time these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a whole
it's
new
like we're being
framework.
re-spoon-fed the idea of live music, which, you know, that was done in a more physical way, and, you know, with our parents' generation.
Yeah, I love live music. When I don't go to an electronic music event, I love jazz. Usually in a small place. I don't really like jazz big stage for some reason. I like it in a super small place with a nice glass of whiskey, and just crammed in a super small place with a low ceiling.
Well, at least 2 glasses of whiskey, because that's probably a drink minimum.
Maybe 3. But then there's something about it being so close to the musicians and seeing them interact with each other, and it's magic, you know, and it's I think it's a really important part of music, and to see it being created, you know, and the general audience is missed that for a while, you know. So when we can get all those things together, like technology, music history, but also artists playing together, it being created live in the spot, it being interactive. I think it's just the next thing, the logical next thing.
I see what you mean, because there's so many versions of that are already happening and that could happen. I can imagine just the idea of, like you said, being at Super Booth and live streaming that extreme experience for people, but also the people that are streaming getting to be played at the festival. I can imagine that in so many different variations. Like we've talked about how KnobCon is like the next thing that we're all stoked about, and I know there's people already talking about how to like sync clocks and do like we're all together, so let's collab, you know, in real time, but it's streaming, so it's like that's another version as well. So yes, you've got me hyped. Yeah, but also the idea. Oh, go ahead.
The thing I did before GSG, there's one guy in the chat, see him here, is Son of 8 Bits, he's a guy from as well. It's a project with I worked on with him and Dave Mack and some other guys, and that was also kind of inspired on this thing about live electronic music. What we did were we called it high-tech jam sessions, and we just 4 or 5 artists on one stage together and jam live electronic music, sometimes even combined with one DJ and 4 live musicians together. We had a violinist and a drummer sometimes there as well. And it was really fun. And it was maybe a bit ahead of its time because it was another thing that wasn't really understood what we were doing, you know. They didn't really feel that it was harder or different or more relevant than a DJ or something like that. But it was really interesting, and now actually Speedy J is throwing at these events, store events in Paradiso, Amsterdam every year, and it's well pretty much the same format that we did in 2016, 2017, and it's getting really, really big, and according to some, those are the best events of the year.
Wow.
So we were doing something good. We were early and we didn't have a lot of money, but if that's a sign of that, I'm usually thinking in the right direction. Mm-hmm. That's great to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do kind of have to roll with those kinds of things when you wanted them to happen in a certain way in a different time, and then you see it happening in a different way, and you're like, okay, cool, well, I'm on something else now, so it's fine.
Well, I'm still totally up for putting a couple of live electronic and other musicians together in a space and having them jam around, and not just electronic, but make some crossovers with traditional instruments. It's just super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we always had talked about how that would be something we'd want to do, and then obviously getting involved with shrimps like accelerates any ideas you might have. And so at this point, like we've already had a shrimp person like be in this space with us and like record a collaboration, which we wouldn't have done so easily. Like we're all like speaking the same language so easily, since we all stream and we all like live loop and sync and all the things. Like it's just sort of like, oh yeah, we're gonna make something and we'll see what happens, and there's no questioning that that's like the norm.
No, there's no questioning, and there's also not really preparation necessary. It's just okay. Are we going to use a clock, or are we just going to press start at the same time? Why not?
Yeah, so that's something that having like the Shrimp Guild, and there's just this like community that already understands where we're coming from with our,
and we even know each other pretty well. It's the fun thing at Super Booth every year is you're like meeting people for the first time, but it's like, oh, I'm meeting you for the first time. Yeah, but I actually already know you for pretty well.
I know like a lot about you actually.
So
yeah.
So it's really fun to be able to know someone online and seeing them play and seeing them talk and seeing them interact in chat. I know most shrimps better than my real life friends at the moment.
Oh my
because
gosh, you're so right.
there's so many ways of interacting with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You read them type on the Discord, you see them stream, you see them making music, you see them type in your own stream, in your own chat. So you get a pretty complete image of someone, you know, maybe even a more complete image of the people you only talk to at the phone, or you only meet at
Yes.
birthday parties or whatever.
Oh,
So
so much love. I love it. Everyone's feeling the love.
it's
You're
pretty
so
great.
right. You're so right. And it does have to be experienced. We can talk about it till we're blue in the face to people who aren't doing it, but until you're on here and you feel the love and you get what we're talking about, it's kind of hard to like give that feeling away. Conflicted Operator wants to know, have you played with remote jam tech, for example, Ninjam, which I've heard of? And there's another one I think that has come up as well. It's a very hot topic.
I gave it a shot one day together with Bleep Temple. We actually, the thing is, I'm not using a DAW in my setup at the moment, and it works really well when you both use a DAW. So for me, it meant running a DAW as well and syncing the DAW with my setup. It also works standalone, but so we had it working for a bit, and then yeah, so it takes some time to get right, and so I played with it a bit, but I really want to do it again, but it's also hard or something. It feels like work to getting it to work. But I know some people that are doing it pretty successfully. Datalek and Sander Klepper, they do it pretty often, and it works really well. The way Ninjam works, I think, is that latency obviously is an issue when playing over the internet, and the way the Ninjam does it is you have like two exact bars difference between each other. And that's so you're synced, but you hear the other one, what he did like 2 bars ago. And it works the same way around to the other end, so you're actually 4 bars apart, if I'm correct, something like that. But there's some new tech coming up, and they say you can jam in real time. It's called ACTITECT. And
What's it called?
ELK, ELK. ACTITECT. And if you're a Mac user, they are promoting a free Mac version right now that will not need hardware. So
Rare.
I am not a Mac person, so I couldn't dive into it. But they also have this hardware device, and they claim you can get latency-free online jamming with other folks.
Wow, I mean that's hard to believe. Like the idea, like I just imagine me standing there being like, you know, enjoying playing with, like, if you like standing there in front of the camera with a crap ton of latency, you know, like maybe that's for you. Like I just can't imagine myself like enjoying it, but like, hey, if they say you can do it with no latency, you know, that'd be awesome.
They say so, yes. Or that's something also I really would like to see happening more often as soon as it becomes common. And I don't think it's far away. Shrimps jamming together.
Oh yeah,
I would love that. Yeah.
I actually thought it would happen a lot earlier, that it would be a normal thing. It's still a bit of a novelty, but it's probably not long before it's like Bleep Temple versus Toto Robin.
It's on. Yeah. You heard it here first. Okay, Elks.live, thank you for dropping that in the chat, ACTITECT. Being our guest, and a little mod activity on the side. Always a little late mod activity whenever ACTITECT's in the chat. Let's see. Jam Taba?
Yeah, Jam Taba and Ninjam. I think that's kind of the same thing.
Same thing? Okay.
One is a server on top of the service, or whatever. Yep.
Okay, so people are saying that they've played... Hi, Didbox, by the way. Thanks for being here. I don't know if I shouted you out. That they've all kind of are in the same place with it. I think what you're right, it's sort of this mental thing of like, it's a lot of work, and it's not going to be that good, you know? But I
If
think
you have it set up, I've seen some guys doing pretty good stuff. And it especially works well with hypnotic evolving filter techno, because it doesn't really matter if you're 2 bars or 4 bars behind, because you can just keep creating evolving rhythms and stuff, and it will work. You can still do breaks and drops and stuff like that, but it gets a lot more complicated when you try like a big beat down tempo or complicated electro or like rock or stuff like that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, Mr. Spock Synth guy is really...
Anything with on the money changes.
Yeah, I can't have that.
Yeah. Well, it's possible, but it's hard. On the money changes. I play with the drummer Jeroen here in the winter. Even just with having the guy in the studio, it's pretty hard to just with 2 persons when you're creating the music on the spot. It's the when you have a song that you're used to playing, it's obviously not that hard to make the right drop or a break or whatever. But when you're creating everything on the spot, you have to find some way of communicating or get to know each other to create a drop or a turn, something like it.
Sounds like we're gonna have some people in the chat trying this out later. Let's get it going. I think what I'm trying to say is we all just need to be trying it more so that we can make it better.
Jamtala works. It does work. Yeah. And I've seen people do it, and it's fun.
All right, let's link up. I want to see it.
And try it if you're a Mac user. Try the Live stuff. I'm really curious to hear how people experience that thing, because they say it's latency free.
Okay. That's amazing. Elk.live. Put it in there one more time. It's real. Live. I also want to throw your the guest command is going to give you ACTITECT links. Make sure you're following. Obviously, we want to do shout outs and all those things for you here. If you're not following ACTITECT, I don't know what you're doing here, but no.
Anybody else have some burning ACTITECT questions?
I have a few, but yes, Wambra, link up.
I have a few as well.
I love the idea that this chat is just becoming an active link up for collaborative jamming, long distance jamming. It's sort of like time travel, because people are jamming in different time zones, but we're sending data and there's like latency. It's like a whole equation. Cool. Oh, you end up with 2 different mixes of the jam, depending on which end you're on. That's an interesting thought. Yes, exactly. How funny. Chat is 4 bars behind. Perfect. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow, I didn't realize everybody was kind of like lit up by this. That's so cool. Well, I think it really ties...
It is very exciting.
It ties into the idea that also I have 2 different things I want to ask you about. But the first, let me just get the business out of the way. Tell me more about the Golden Shrimp Guild and like your connection with it, and like how you're kind of like considered. I don't know if it's true. I don't want to say this, but it seems like you're the wizard behind it all.
Well, I actually found the Golden Shrimp Guild early pandemic. I was already on track on doing something on the internet, and I think in the end of 2019 I was working towards it. At that point I thought it was going to be a YouTube channel with tutorials about building setups and how to make your gear into instruments and stuff like that. But after a while I figured, well, maybe I'm not far enough to educate about that. So I really I wanted to experience it myself and have something good to show before I tell people what to do, otherwise you're not really interesting to look at, or not never mind. But then I found Twitch, and I just tried streaming I in one of those cases, I actually built like a streaming setup in the cases with a video mixer, a laptop, some other stuff, so that I could also stream on location if I wanted. But I just was in the studio and was streaming to Twitch, but I didn't really understand the concept of streaming at the beginning. It was like I turned on the stream, I performed for 25 minutes, and then I turned off the stream. There was nobody watching, so I was like, I'm doing something wrong. And after a while, I found a post on Facebook in the Dallas jamming group or something that stuff was happening on Twitch. It was probably a post by Dan Kushner, the founder of the Golden Shrimp God, or the Volta, the organizer of the first edition of SYNTHON. Then it was called Synth Saturday.
Oh yes.
Because it was one day. And in this first edition of Synth Saturday, later Synth Weekend, later Synth Fest, and now SYNTHON. There were performers like Dan Kushner, Bleep Temple, X Studios, Nightworks, and Mass Smith. All great performers, so I was completely blown away by the event, and it was like maybe 10 hours long or 12 hours long or something like that. So I watched the entire event and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is it. I found my calling for at least the next 10 years. So I just threw myself in there. And first I helped by creating a new logo. And after a while, they got me in the admin room. And some time ago, Dan, the founder and the true big king Emperor Shrimp, he took another career path where he had to focus very much on his new job. And I already was doing quite some of the heavy lifting at that point. So he reached out to me and was like, hey, can you take over? I was like, okay. So, and actually nothing really changed after that other than that I'm pretty much
It's just you then.
No, it's not just me. Not
okay,
at all,
I was like,
no. There's a big team of admins. There's Mr. X, there's Toto, there's Bleep Temple, there's X Studios. There are a lot of admins helping around in any way they can. And without them, it wouldn't even be possible. But the thing I enjoy most is like thinking about what the next steps are and creating new paths and new dimensions to what we are doing. Because I'm a big picture guy, I like to zoom out and see how what we do relates to the world, what's happening right now, what's going to happen in 5 years. I used to read a lot about futurism and stuff by Ray Kurzweil, like The Singularity is Near, books like that about a prognosis for what's going to happen in the next 50 years. And I read those books like 20 years ago, and they're pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Like what's happening with AI right now, it's like literally written in that book, 20-year-old book. And it's kind of spot on. There's going to be a moment somewhere between 2020 and 2030 when AI is going to like make a jump like whoop, and that we're completely in the knee of that curve right now. And up to the point that we have to pull the brakes even, because it's the Wild West. But AI is also going to be influential to almost everything.
Absolutely.
Also to what we do.
I feel like the way like the having the computer in your hand pocket like of an iPhone made us think about life differently and expect different things. I feel like I'm trying to think of AI that way, of like, oh, it's just sort of something that's going to be embedded into our lives in a way that we can't really experience. We can't imagine life without it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the phone, it's still an interface, you know.
Sure.
You have to pick your phone, do something
Mm-hmm.
before you get what you want. And AI, that's gonna be probably the next thing
Mm-hmm.
after the smartphone is just an AI that you have with you somehow, and you can ask them things and ask them to do things for you just by talking to them, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe in a while by them reading your mind, literally with a chip in your head, and it's all not that far away.
I know. I know. We love retro sci-fi
And I
because it's
can't
a little
wait.
more quaint, you know?
Right.
I
I
can't wait
know.
to become a cyborg.
You want to become a cyborg? Okay. That's
Yeah.
good to know.
Did you create Bitcoin?
No, no, that wasn't me.
Okay.
But he knows who it was.
Oh yeah.
That's what I think.
I would imagine you run with that crew.
Look how quiet he's getting.
I'm not into crypto at all. I was interested really early, and I should have like bought like a couple of hundred of euros in Bitcoin because it was like the first year,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
That's a tough one.
I'm not good with money, and I also don't like working with money and focusing on money and thinking about money.
I hear you.
That's exactly correct.
It's a bummer, man.
I went through a phase where I was like, I need to understand crypto because like it's the future and I need to understand it. And I like went so deep into it that I like came out the other side and was like, I don't want to have to think about this all day. I don't want to have to think about coins and things that are like on a chart and a graph. I don't want to be looking at graphs.
This sounds like a drug habit. You know?
I just didn't want to be talking to people about money, right? Like you said.
No shade.
No shade.
It sounded like a drug habit for me.
This all sounds like we're being super negative on it. Like, I don't want to talk shit about anything, but the idea that we can have people to talk about music with is a lot more exciting, dynamic, expansive, uplifting, because I think it also crosses over a lot with what you were saying about futuristic ideas and, like, how artists, while it seems like all we're doing is making sounds, we're actually, like, conceptualizing the future. Is that too much to say?
I mean, hey, that's...
It felt very heavy when I said it. I was like, I didn't mean it to feel that heavy, but I think what I meant was like, we're not just making music, we're crafting something that didn't exist. And to me, that's like very
powerful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And fun, because it's like discovering a new planet or something, you know? We can create this world in the way we want it. And that's the most beautiful thing there is, almost, you know. Like it's like setting sail to a new island and finding a new paradise and being able to shape it in any way you want it. And we can shape it in the future. Yeah.
I think that's what I love so much about live improv, and what I feel when I'm listening to everybody else's streams too is that idea that it's like really being crafted in real time. There's not this like overthinking, over analytical, over processed element that there is in other music. That I again love it all. I love all music, but the thing that really drives me is the fact that every time we set out to make something, we don't know what's going to happen.
Modular music is the best music, though.
No, we don't want to be like hardware narcs. But question:
I don't actually feel that way. I'm like, I started with software, so.
I know. I really want to nerd out about like your origins as well, but you're also a futuristic person, so that probably doesn't interest you that much.
My origins? What do you mean?
Well, in terms of like talking about using the Amiga, you talked about how you had Commodore 64, like trackers,
Fast tracker,
all that stuff. Like we love like geeking out about the old stuff.
Do you still mess with trackers?
No, not really.
Right.
No. To me, I have some nostalgia about it, but it's not like I crave to get back into a tracker, you know, because for what I do and what I'm good at, it was not the best way of doing it, but it was amazing in that days, you know. I could create everything I wanted. I actually had a way of playing on a tracker. You could use like the down button, the down cursor button, put you one step ahead of the track, and I like drummed on that on the down button, like, and you played on the key on like the keyboard you had to play stuff with because you didn't have MIDI controllers in the beginning. So we played it like in the rhythm on the keyboard, and that kind of worked. So I had to create some kind of playing style to be able to get what I had in my head into the tracker, but it was like programming music. Programming the music is fun, but it's just one way of making music.
Yes.
All the different ways of putting sound and triggers into sound sources. So I'm not nostalgic. I'm nostalgic about trackers, but I'm not like I'm going back or feel like going back. Not really.
Right.
No.
Yeah, you're not interested in getting like a hardware tracker, for example.
No. No. For me, it's a novelty. It's like a Game Boy reissue or something.
Wow. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Well, yeah, that mini tracker that I think Polyand just came out with is kind of like, people are saying it's like a Game Boy. I haven't actually like messed with it, but I'm sort of like you. Like I didn't even get started with trackers, but have kind of like revisited them just because of their history in electronic music, and the role that they've played. Kind of made me want to go and check them out. And so I've done a little bit of that, and that was all that I needed to do to sort of like move on from it.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, yeah, it's cool, man. You make some weird shit with that shit. Is sort of my take on it. Like I figured, it's like it forces you into like this really specific workflow that I feel like everybody probably like has their own way of like dealing with it. And so I definitely made some music that was not like other music that I had made.
That's also why it's interesting.
And so that was really cool. Yeah.
You could have done a whole episode on
I think the trackers were the way they worked were really, really influential in the music that came out of it. Obviously, early 90s and stuff. Absolutely. Yeah.
I also wanted to ask if, because you've kind of touched a little bit on like space references, and I find that it's always, I shouldn't be amazed by this anymore, but we meet another new shrimp person, we already understand the whole Dallas live improv jamming thing, live streaming, but then also it'll be like, but also cosmicness, also space music. There's also this layer of I think sort of the language of what we're doing tends to parallel with the language of like talking about space and the cosmos, right? And the mysteries of the universe. But when you were talking, I was like having this like memory connection to the work of, in the early days of electronic music, the Philips lab was like one of the most influential hubs of innovating in electronic music, and one of the things that came out of it was the sample record that they would give to people who came to do tours, which was Kid Baltan and Tom Disavelt.
Kid Baltan.
Yes.
My dad actually worked in the Net Lab on Philips.
Okay, I was like, I want to ask about this, but I don't want to be cliche. Like, oh, you brought up Philips. Did he work at Net Lab?
You're like Kid Baltan.
Because I'm like, there's no way you're this person and you don't know about Net Lab. Okay, great.
No. I've been there. I studied in Eindhoven, which is the Philips town. I did the Design Academy Eindhoven, which is a pretty well-known, internationally well-known design school. So I lived there for 14 years or something in Eindhoven, and my dad also lived there. But I'm actually from The Hague.
Oh, okay.
Which is in the west coast of the Netherlands. But my dad actually worked there in the Net Lab.
Wow.
Wow.
Not during the Kid Baltan days.
Right.
You know where the name Kid Baltan came from?
I do actually. Because it's NatLab backwards.
Yeah,
We actually, because like anyone who was innovating with early electronic music and also doing stuff about space is like the thing we're the most obsessed with. So obviously that is like one of our core things that we draw from for inspiration, that like lights us up. And we did like a podcast episode about Kid Baltan, and someone heard it and reached out to us, and they were doing like a project for like, I want to say the 50th anniversary of something with Philips, and it was like a celebration of the city of Eindhoven, and they had us do like a piece for it. So I feel very connected to this thing that we've never been to or know anyone really from, but we're like, we know so much about it, and I don't really get to talk to that many people about it, so I'm really like trying not to like freak out on you about that.
Yeah, and it's also where they invented the cassette and the CD.
Yes. All of the things.
Dick Raymakers, right?
And I actually worked for Philips myself, but as a designer.
Yes.
I worked for Philips Design as a freelance designer, and I did some projects there.
That's
as well.
amazing.
It was really interesting to get it all around. I wasn't there as a musician or music related stuff, but as a designer.
Right.
Oh my gosh, but everything seems like it's so about like this mindset that you have been sharing with us about this idea of thinking about the future and like piecing together where we are now and where we're going to be and kind of what your role in that could be. That just felt very like...
Yeah, to me, design and music is kind of the same thing. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's both creating something that isn't there yet and conceptualizing it first and sketching it or creating it on the spot and optimizing. It's just another medium if you're working with light or with sound or with ink on paper. In my head, it's kind of the same thing, and it's not about that. The technique is just something you have to develop, but it's what comes before that. You know what happens in your head, the concept of what you are trying to create and why it's relevant and why it's fun and why it's important, and you just choose the best medium for the thing you have in your head. And poetry, language. For me, it's the same part of your brain that you're using, and the way you put it out into the world can be lots of things, but the origin is the same, if you ask.
Wow, I'm gonna clip that even if I don't share it. That was really amazing and inspiring. But you said something about light, how it's light and sound, and I was just like, gosh, because Philips, like, they invented the light bulb, and Eindhoven is the city of light, and it's like all the research we did is just like flooding back to me, and like how inspiring that city is.
Well, it's actually not very inspiring when you're there. It's actually
I imagine it's like corporate, right?
For some festival weeks in the year, it's not a very vivid city or something for most days of the year. There are some places where cool things happen, like at Philips or at ASML, or which is actually not in Eindhoven, but a small city next to it. ASML is the biggest chip machine manufacturer in the world. So they make the machines that make the chips, and it's like really big right now in the world because of shortages and demand. So it's not like when you're in Eindhoven, it's like, whoop, party. There was some pretty good music created in Eindhoven, but it's not a vivid city with a booming nightlife like Amsterdam.
Right.
Oh, sure. No, I wouldn't think of it that way. I was thinking more of like how so many people have had so many brilliant ideas or discoveries in that one place that you might feel it. Yeah.
They call that area of the Netherlands, they call it the brain port, because there are so many tech companies there, and there's a technical university, And yeah, it is a great place for stuff like that to happen. Absolutely, especially combined with the Design Academy, which is totally the other end. It's the, with a big focus on concepts, and it's especially interesting when those two worlds come together. Super high tech and super high out there uh, thinkers and concepts.
Yes, that's exactly what I feel about it, is that special combination of like technical precision and excellence mixed
Free
with
thinking.
futuristic free thinking. Yes, exactly. I think that's the only reason we have that amazing record from Tom Disabelt and Kid Balton, is because of that weird combination, that perfect combination of energy. I saw some new friends in the chat, and I just want to make sure we let everyone know this is part of SYNTHON. We are doing a Synth Friends meets SYNTHON moment here.
You're in the right place.
So you are in the right place, and we are going to be rating in a little bit into the next person. So thanks for being here, Kid Pachoklo.
I think we had another question by.
And did we?
Boots.
Yeah.
Somebody said they use an Acti. That's rad.
Oh yeah, reel to reel fam. Where are we? There they are.
What do you think will be the biggest change in online interactive music in the next year? So
that's right.
The biggest change. I don't really know. I don't think the biggest change is going to be in the online thing. I think it's the merging between the online and the offline is going to be the biggest thing that normal people will get to know about it, you know?
Oh, the biggest change is that it'll become more normalized or more accepted.
Yeah, it's going to be... yeah, it's going to be accepted and normal. People are going to understand it. Online live music. I think that will be the biggest change, because there are so many stuff happening with visuals and AI, and they'll all be integrated into it. But I think the biggest step will be, yeah.
Are you interested at all in like AR or VR elements with what you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also going to happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we're sort of like, we're already like in that
some
moment?
people are doing it, and some Neon Void does some AR VR stuff.
Oh yeah.
In the past, there are some streamers that have combined it with live electronic music already, also in our community.
Oh wow.
But I think there's going to be a lot of that as well. I think especially AR is going to be interesting, because imagine being able to invite online folks into your studio, being able to see them in your studio.
We would see them?
Yeah, that AR is like a layer over.
Yeah. Oh, that hurts my brain.
The real world. And that's, for me, I think that's more interesting for what we do than VR.
Right, because VR you have to be wearing a headset and it's all in here.
And
whereas AR is you're seeing it in the space with you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it gets layered on top of it. I think for what we do, that's going to be really interesting, because that enables you to, for instance, I could create this studio in like, make it like a big hall, invite 2,000 people and actually see them, and they can actually see me, and they can see each other. Stuff like that.
That would, I feel like that would require so much bandwidth. Like,
it can already be done.
Wow.
It has been done, and those were mostly VR based, but AR is, I think it's more interesting, because especially with all their instruments. That's the thing with VR and creating live electronic music. You also have to make like a virtual equivalent of all your gear, and to be able to see you play on the gear, and it would be just a bit weird, or you had to use like top-down cameras and integrate them into the virtual world with its own man. So if it's a combination between real and virtual, I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like, you're pushing my thinking really far, and like I already feel like I should be getting points just for like knowing how to turn my camera on. And I'm like, VR, AR, it sounds so cool. Like I want to think more, like you were saying, like you were inspiring me to think more excited about what that will feel like and what we can do with it and how we can build more community and have more creative freedom, rather than like, oh no, the tech will be hard.
Fortunately, it will all go step by step, and it will not be. You will not wake up one day and everybody is using AR. Fortunately, so the people are gonna fiddle around with it at first, and it's gonna be weird at first, and after that it gets fun, and then it gets normal, and then it gets amazing.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
I want that. Can somebody make that official ACTITECT chart, please? This is how things go. I want to be like, where are we with this?
We're at fun now. Normal's next, then amazing. Yes.
It was like the perfect sequence of words too. Oh, abhorrent me, welcome in. Oh man, that was great. There's been some really, really great clippable moments from Mr. ACTITECT this evening. We appreciate that. Yep. That's where the fun is hiding, in that weird space of what's possible or probable.
Well, now that it feels normal to live where I live, I actually want to like go out in my community and try to make it amazing by like connecting with people in person.
About live streaming?
Yeah. Well, no. I want to like basically do Dallas jamming like just at like a place.
That's like the total opposite.
Physically, yeah, I know. I want to have both going on.
He's itching to go out in the world, and I'm just really not.
I just want to connect with people locally because I have a feeling there's a community here, and it would be cool to like
putting it out there hot.
Combine, both streaming and maybe like having like a night somewhere.
Sounds like we need to connect with ACTITECT off stream about a local combination gsg thing, right?
I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I want to I guess I want to build it in real life first, and then we'll have a conversation about how to incorporate the Shrimp Guild into it.
Yeah, but I think that's the way to do it, because that will be fun as well. We have shrimps all over the world, and basically, as soon as we figure out what is the best way to do it, throw an online event offline, just all the members of our community can do it in their hometown. So we can do like a SYNTHON that is played in 20 clubs spread all over the world. I can already see the streams with the different cameras feeds coming in from all those clubs. So
yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, but I don't know when, but it's gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
Build it and shrimps will come. Yeah. I think there's like a cool way to layer all those things. So you kind of have to see how it plays out.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how NobCon goes, because I feel like that will be like a physical and streaming combination, right?
Yeah. We don't have as much experience with all this as the other shrimpers do, so we're kind of still learning all the things and getting to meet everybody and everything. So.
Are you planning to do NobCon?
I'm planning to go if I can. Yeah.
Oh wow. That would be awesome.
I feel like everyone's getting a lot of exclusive.
If I have the money enough to go, I will. Probably will stay a week or something.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
But it could also be that it's a bit of a weird year money-wise, but Berlin has been quite expensive as well. But yeah, we'll see. I hope so. I'm planning on it, and Maybe this year, maybe next year. Who knows?
Okay, we would love if you came, but obviously, like, fair
We're
if you
biased.
can't. But I do feel like it's a nice time apart from there. You know, like, we got a good 6 months to recover from Berlin before.
It's not like it's happening tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, so that does help, even though we're all excited and talking about it now. I see Datalek in the chat as well as Indie Goats. I didn't see you all. Warren Turtle, thank you for being here.
And you're welcome to come to San Francisco.
Let's see.
I do have relatives in the neighborhood of San Francisco, so that I might do that.
That's a cool place to have relatives.
Love San Francisco.
Yeah, I lived in the Bay Area for 6 months for like a work thing, and it was cool to live there. Like, I enjoyed it. It was definitely after like the tech boom, and you know, it's pretty blown out at this point. But what?
No, I'm just getting distracted by the chat. You've only been to the States once. Oh, okay.
Once. In New York, 1 week. That's it.
Okay.
Wow. Well,
I loved it.
Oh my gosh, how fun. We would love if you came. We live pretty close to where NobCon is, so we're happy to be part of the hosting team for everyone who would be coming.
Great to hear.
I feel like honored and also like just humbled by how welcoming and supportive and just together everybody was at Super Booth. So I'm like,
absolutely.
How can we help?
I have a lot to give
what can we do?
Department.
I have a feeling NobCon's going to be amazing as well. So I actually don't want to miss it. So I'm going to do my best to be there.
Sending lots of good vibes for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things too where, like, you know how good Super Booth 23 was, and I have a feeling that NobCon will follow suit.
Oh yeah.
Hope so.
Let's see.
It's a good year, in other words, for all of this stuff, I feel.
Things are feeling good. We weren't sure if they would, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It's been a wild ride the past couple years.
Yep. Yeah. And, when you look at it, it's pretty exciting time to be alive. And I'm also looking at the future. You know, I think it's people sometimes tend to be really pessimistic about the future and about the now as well. You know, but when you really look at it from a scientific and futuristic standpoint, we're actually it's all going pretty good, you know. Energy is going to be almost free in the next couple of years. Solar panels are getting like almost free, so that's clean energy. AI is going to be really helpful in whatever. It's going to be scary and risky, but it's also AI isn't just a technology. AI is the human race creating another intelligent life form.
Yeah,
you have to see how it's one of the biggest milestones in human evolution. If creating an other entity, you know, that's not nothing. We're creating a species even more intelligent than we are.
Right.
And they're gonna take over because it's not long before we're too dumb to tell them what to do.
Right.
Yes. we know that. We've predicted it. We're manifesting it. It's just it's inevitable at this point. Yeah.
But I think it's gonna in the end it's gonna be all this technological developments. It's all gonna bring good things and help us humans be more human.
Wow.
People
That's very poetic.
They're afraid of the technology because they think it will make them have to do technological stuff.
Right.
But that's not where
it's the opposite.
going for. It's the opposite. yeah, the technology. We had a weird couple of decades when it comes to technology with uh, like a computer was like a typewriter and a television, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
super weird interface.
Right, you had to learn a whole new language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but all those interfaces are going to disappear, and it's gonna be awesome.
Wow, I love this. I am just like allowing your positivity to like wash over me. Hopefully it
Don't be
affects
scared of the
me.
future, folks. It's gonna
Don't
be
be scared of the future. I love that.
and we're not all gonna die, and that we're not all gonna drown and carbon stuff. No, technology is gonna catch up with us and help us just
Mm,
in time.
Just in
just in
time.
time. I love it. Like a true sci-fi movie. Welcome
Yeah.
in,
Fine.
Teletrace.
And that's all the more reason to stay living in the place that I live and not
Oh,
change
shoot.
momentum.
Okay, we need to raid out. I don't want to forget. I'm going to drop Acti's links here again. Which country is ACTITECT from?
I'm in the Netherlands, and my studio right here is in Amsterdam.
Amazing. We really want to visit Amsterdam someday. My
Please
shout
do.
out wasn't the fancy kind. Yeah, we haven't been there before, but we'd really like to, as we were kind of nerding out earlier. Um, let me make sure I've got Woke Ass Messiah pulled up so that we can raid out, because this is SYNTHON. So this is Synth Friends, but it's on SYNTHON, so we do have to do a timely raid. This is such a ray of grace. You missed a lot of it, and we talked about you as always. If you knew somebody, is that okay? I don't know about that finish thing. Yay! Thank you, everyone. Yeah, big shout outs, big love, big shrimp love to ACTITECT. We have to cut this off, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Thanks for hanging out.
And we're gonna raid into Woke Ass Messiah, so hang on tight and let's do an amazing raid. Oh,
Thank you, guys.
I want to
Big
talk
fun.
to everybody more, but this was awesome. Thank you so much, ACTITECT, for being here.
Yeah, very cool hanging out.
Yeah, this was amazing. So much love to everybody. This is amazing. This was really awesome. Thank you so much. We're gonna make sure we do our due diligence and do our raid here. So hang on tight, everybody. Making sure they're ready. They look like they're ready. So we're gonna start this raid.
See you later.
Fantastic. Coming in hot. Yes, we need Acti chords.
Yes, Acti chords.
Thank you for being here, Conflicted. Thank you, Didbox. Thank you, Booze. Thank you, everybody, with all your great questions. Hey, Mitchell. Hi and bye, everybody. Much love to you. Don't be afraid of the future. We're all going to be okay. See you next time. Hold on. My button's not working.
Cheerio.
All right. Love you all.
The computer's not going to eat us.
Yay.
Yeah.